Hello and welcome along to Mondo Chelloveck Movies. My name is John and this is going to be my horror shelf part 2. Now as you can see that I'm starting to put everything where it should be on these shelves, shelf 1 and shelf 2. And what I'm going to do with this video is it's going to be a rare video. I'm going to actually do this video without having any cuts in it, hopefully. And the only cut you should see is when I go and get some more stuff off the shelves for when I change over the stuff. See, I'm already starting. This would have been stuff I would have taken out. Anyway, so I'm going to go through this because I want to get this done as soon as I can, actually, because this shelves are all going to get changed around. So this horror section is going to be sort of debunked. So I thought, well, I'll just do this as I did with my first one, which I'll just leave a link to that one down below. And this will show you what it was in my original horror section if you wanted to ever check that out. Okay, so first off, I've got The Invisible Man. Now this is a great movie. This one is one that I need to get on 4K, more of that in an upcoming video. And I do know that me and Deborah had a really good time. She didn't want to watch this movie, but I talked her into it, and we had a real good blast with this movie. And this is the extended edition, as I can see. I'm just looking at that now and don't know. I don't really remember it. It's due a rewatch, and that'll be getting rewatched very soon. That's The Invisible Man. Next is a great series called In the Flesh. Now this is a movie that's, this is a series that I saw. This is the full series here, series 1 and 2. Now this was in CEX for £8. Now this is a one that has been on TV a lot, and I did see it basically in CEX for a couple of quid. And then it seemed to go up like a stupid amount of money, and then I saw it for £8, so I pounced, and I'm glad I did because now it's back up to stupid money. So if you ever see this for, I don't know, anything that's normal, 15, even £20, it would be a good one. It's a really good zombie TV series about this bloke who is a zombie, and he's living life as a zombie. You have to. Some people are zombies, some people aren't. I don't know what that meant. And this is a really good story actually, and it's a great. I haven't seen series 2 actually, although I've watched series 1 on the telly. I thought it was really good, but I was happy to get this for £8. So highly recommend as the TV series, one that you don't hear many people talking about. I think this is one of those BBC 3 dramas or comedy horrors a bit. So yes, so that's In the Flesh. Next is It Came From Outer Space. This is the 2D and the 3D one actually. I don't know if you get glasses with it. No, you don't. But I do know that I've watched the 2D version of this, and it's really, I love these type of movies. Although it's in my horror section, it's not really like a horror movie as such. It's black and white actually. It's really weird because is it black and white or is it colour? I'm sure it's black and white, although all the stuff on here is colour, or maybe it's colorized, or maybe one of them is colorized. But you do get the 3D and the 2D one. And when I watched it in 2D, you could tell this was a 3D movie because all the titles were coming at you and everything. So I like all these movies. I would recommend any of these movies you see. I would say go and check them out. They're great. So that's It Came From Outer Space. Next up is Killer's Moon. This is a UK movie, and I'm trying to think if this wasn't banned, but it might have been one of those ones that might have been on the banned lists. Well, not on the banned list, but like tagged in with those. I don't know who actually directed this, if I'm honest. It's from Screambound, great label, and it could have been somebody who was maybe one of these Italian directors that came over to here to do that, to make a movie like that. I can't remember too much about it, but it's I thought it was a pretty decent watch when I watched it, and it's definitely it is a British movie. Killer Moon is Britain's answer to I Spit on Your Grave. Well, I don't think it is, but yeah, I might actually give this a rewatch soon. That's Killer's Moon. That rhymed, didn't it? Right, next up is Krampus. Now this is a movie that I haven't seen. I bought it years ago, and it's one of those ones that I want to watch at Christmas time. Every Christmas time comes and goes, and I think, hang on a minute, I didn't watch Krampus. I know it's meant to be a great movie. I know there's a sequel out, I think. I am wanting to watch this, don't get us wrong. I think that it would look probably better in 4K, but I do need to get this watched, and I keep putting it off. I know I could probably watch it in the middle of the year. You don't have to watch these at Christmas, but if it doesn't get watched this Christmas, I'll watch it as soon after Christmas as I can. That's Krampus. Next is Lady Frankenstein. This looks actually spectacular. Now, as a sort of Mickey Hargitay, who is the monster there, the Frankenstein's monster, he is the father of Mariska Hargitay, who was in those CSI crime drama movie things, Law and Order, what they're called. I know that Deb was a big fan of her, so that's her dad, who was a bodybuilder, and you can tell in this movie. It's filmed by Mel Wells. Wow. This movie does look spectacular actually, and it's got a lot of special features with it. It was always dead expensive, but now it seems to be coming down in price. I think I paid a tenner for this in CX. But I haven't watched it yet, but I really do want to watch it. I like anything to do with Frankenstein. So that's Lady Frankenstein. Next is Life with, as his. I hope that didn't blow your ears out when you're watching that. I do apologise. That would have got cut out, wouldn't it? Life After Beth. This stars Aubrey Plaza, who I'm a big fan of. She's in The American Office, and I think that's one of the best things I've ever seen. No, it's not in The American Office. She's in Parks and Recreations, that's it. So she is one of the best things about Parks and Recreations. This movie here is very much like kind of off kilter. It's about this fella who wakes up and he realizes his girlfriend is a zombie, but she doesn't know she's a zombie, and she doesn't really turn into a zombie straight away. She sort of starts to decompose a little bit, like American Werewolf in London, with Jack, and it's really good actually. And it's the fact that she's trying not to turn into a zombie, but she is turning into a zombie, and he doesn't know how to handle that. It's really good sort of different spin on these zombie movies, and I personally had a really good time with it, mainly because of the fact that I just like anything to cheese in. That's Life After Beth. I'll try not to drop any from now on. Next up is The Love Witch. Now this is a new film to a certain extent, and I don't know when it was made. I think it was maybe 2012 or something. And it's a giallo. They've made like a new giallo, but what they've done is with this movie, and it's quite good how they've done it. They made it look as if it was shot in the 70s, and actually you would think it was a 70s movie if you didn't know anything about it. It actually has got a look of a really like a 70s movie. It's a really great movie in that respect, and I do recommend it to a lot of. If nobody's seen it or heard of it, I do recommend you get it and check this out. If you're a fan of giallos or movies that are pertaining to be giallos, you'll need to look no further than this one. Yeah, and it's. To be honest, if I showed this to somebody and said, "Oh, this is a movie from the 70s," no, I don't think anyone would bat an eyelid. So that's The Love Witch. Next up is The Last Horror Film. Now this is an 88 film release. Now I do need to get this back in the 88 section. I think what I did was, when I was running out of space in here with 88 stuff, I did move a couple of them out and put them in the horror section. But I'm going to put them all back in the 88 section, because the 88 section is now, instead of going down here, it's going to go across there. So that's one of the reasons why this is going to be now defunct. So these is just interesting to me to see which was put in which category. So that's The Last Horror Film, aka Fanatic. It's a great film. It was previously banned, actually. It was on their banned category 3 banned horror list. And this is fully uncut by 88. It looks spectacular. It's a great movie. It's got Caroline Munro and Joe Spinell, and those two together, when they get together, they've got great chemistry. They've had a lot of time for each other in real life. This is a great little movie, and I highly recommend it if you're into that sort of bit strange New York horror in a way. That's The Last Horror Film. Next is Mad Max 2, or Mad Max 2 The Road Warrior, or The Road Warrior. This is, I would say this is a really awful cover. I knew when it came out, I thought they could have done a lot much more with this cover. This is my favourite Mad Max movie. I love this movie. I do want to get them all in 4K. I have got the first one in 4K and Fury Road in 4K. I haven't got the third one. I'm not a fan of, but I would get it. I will get the box set down the road. I know this does actually look quite good on Blu-ray, but it looks spectacular on 4K, I'm led to believe. So yes, one of my favourite movies. I saw this countless times at the cinema as well, and I've watched this a million times in various different forms. This was probably one of the first movies that I ever got out of the video shop. That's Mad Max 2. Next up is Maggie. Now this is one that I picked up for like literally no money at all. I didn't know that the girl in here is the girl from. She's actually in what's it, Zombieland, and she plays a good part. Actually, it's just about another sort of spin on the zombie movie where Arnold Schwarzenegger, who plays somebody who isn't like an action hero, he has a daughter who is slowly turning into a vampire, and he's trying every which way to get her to get a scene and maybe cured. And it's quite like a drama, which is really a strange movie to have him in it and not be an action star and somebody who isn't like breaking skulls all the way through a movie. And it's quite good to see him in a serious movie. Actually, I think he should do more of these. And at first I thought, this is going to be a bit of rubbish, and but by the end of it, I was quite invested in it. So that's quite highly recommended, even though a lot of people shrug it off and say it's not that good. I think it's only just trying to do something different, and I'm all for that. So that's Maggie. Next up is Maniac. Now this is the remake of the movie Maniac from Joe Spinell and Caroline Munro in 1980, I think it was. I'm not too sure when this came out. I thought this was, I wanted to see it because I thought, well, I didn't want to see it at first. And I thought, is this going to be, because I don't think they could top Maniac. But they didn't really top it. What they did was they went for, the whole movie is point of view. It's the point of view of the killer. That's not a spoiler. And it's seen through his eyes, which is a great spin on it. I like the fact that they've done something completely different, but keeping in the same tropes of the first movie to do with these mannequins and stuff. If you've seen the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. And to be honest, I thought the Maniac, the one that was the real like gruesome movie, highly cut in the UK. I thought they would never top it for gore, but they really have. There's some really ultra brutal scenes in this movie, and I think Elijah Wood does a great, because you thought, well, what? Bilbo Baggins is Maniac? That was, it just didn't work, but it does really work actually, strangely enough. And I think it was a much better movie than I thought it was going to be. That's Maniac. Make sure these don't fall down. Next up is one for the family. It is Martyrs. Now, I was told that this was going to be one of the most brutal films I've ever seen, and it is actually. But to me, it comes across as a bit more than that. It's got a bit more going on for it. I did have a great time with it. I thought that it's like a movie in two halves. The first movie is like, it seems like a sort of a home invasion movie with some absolutely intensely brutal scenes in it. The second half is more, it's a different type of slant on it, which I'm not going to go into because it'll kind of spoil the movie for you. But I think that these two in here play a great part. And I do think the movie does come full circle, and I did think, well, where's this going? But when it got to where it was, I thought, that's not too bad. I did really appreciate it. But yes, it is ultra gory. That's Martyrs. And you think to yourself, why is it called Martyrs? But when you see it, you think, oh yeah, that's why it's called Martyrs. The next one I got on a subscriber mail from my good friend Keith from Euphoria Pictures, linked down below. It is The Mothman Prophecies. Now, The Mothman Prophecies stars Richard Gere and Laura Linney, who I've never really heard of before. And Keith swears by this movie just being like a really great movie. Now, I'm all for, this is a movie that I wouldn't have seeked out myself, but when somebody said to us, you've got to see this movie because they rate it highly, well, it does go into me to watch list. I haven't watched it yet, but it will be one of the, I'm saving it actually for my new TV. I think this would be a great one because I've checked a bit of it out and it did look very intriguing, and also the picture quality was quite good in here. So I know Keith's upgraded his package to a different release. So that's the one that's, when I saw it, I thought, oh yeah, because it's funny when you go through your shelves, you come across things, oh yes, I remember wanting to watch that. There's a few actually from subscriber mails from Leon Talks Films, linked to his channel down below. He sent me a few things, David Lynch movie, and I thought The Straight Story, I'm going to have to start watching things like that. And now I've got the big telly, I think I'll start putting these things on because they should look really that much better. So that's The Mothman Prophecies. Next up is a movie that I thought, well, I got it cheap in Blockbuster actually. I thought, well, this is going to be alright. It might be just a total load of rubbish because I do like the original one. This remake is actually a really good remake. It is My Bloody Valentine. This one here is 3D, and I did use the 3D glasses, and to be honest, I thought it was one of the best 3D experiences on a disc I've ever had, because usually sometimes you get these and they just look awful, and the 3D doesn't work too good, and you think, well, that was a waste of time. So, but with this one here, it's a bit of a different take on the My Bloody Valentine movie. It's the same theory of this fella who's dressed in a sort of a miner. He goes around killing people with a pickaxe. That's the same thing, but there's a lot more to it. This one comes across a bit like a giallo to me, and I had a great time with it. And I thought, yeah, it's more of the same of them. But I tell you what, around about this time, they remade loads of movies, Prom Night, and they were just awful. Couldn't watch them at all. In fact, I just thought, what they're doing with these movies, like destroying them. But with this one, is one of the rare ones that turned out to be, I'm not going to say it's better than the original, but I did enjoy it as much as the original. That's My Bloody Valentine. Next up is My Name is Bruce. I got this because obviously it's Bruce Campbell, and you know that's all you need to know, really, isn't it? I do know this is meant to be not the best of movies. It isn't the best of movies. It's a kind of one of those ones where Bruce Campbell plays Bruce Campbell, and everybody knows Bruce Campbell. He's one of these people who hates his fans, and he can't be bothered with them. But he's got to get involved with them because there's obviously there's some kind of monster around, and he doesn't believe it's real or that type of thing. It's quite funny. It could have been a lot better. It worked for most of the movie, but some of the movie you think, But the thing is though, Bruce Campbell in anything pulls it off because it's Bruce Campbell. And when Bruce Campbell plays Bruce Campbell, it's brilliant. To be honest, I think they should do another film like this, but make it a bit better. So that's My Name is Bruce. The stack's looking a little bit wobbly. Next up is one that I got off my good friend John Hall, and this was part of a thing that he gave us in this big sort of pile of stuff. I think it was last year actually, and I just thought that this, I didn't know anything about it, and I had a great time with this movie. I have double dipped with it. I think down below there, I've got the other version of it, but I had to keep this one because of the slipcover. It is The New Kids. Now this slipcover here, I think these slipcovers are absolutely brilliant. These are one of these. It's a full slipcover. It's not. It's just, I just love the look of them. It's just so retro. To be honest, I think if anybody released these in this is released by Mill Creek, and I know there's a few that I'm after that have this cover. Now this I thought with this being like a cheap label, Mill Creek, they were always putting the stuff out for not that much money. I thought that this would be pretty poor quality, but I tell you what, the quality in here is absolutely stunning, as it is on the other release down there, the 101 version of this one. But I had to keep this one. It's bare bones. There's no special features on it. It's region A locked. It says, I can't remember if it was one of those ones that's region A locked, but it's not really. And it's got DTS sound, so I might give this one another spin actually, because I just, like I say, I just had a load of just this cover does it for me. That's the new Kids. Hey, that's my first mistake, kind of. And last up in this one, before I get some new stuff here, is Night of the Creeps. This is another one that John Ho gave us, and to be honest, I'd always heard John said great things about this movie, and I thought, well, I've got to watch it, but it's one of those ones that never got released in the UK. As soon as John gave me this, it got released in the UK. He probably gave me this because it was released in the UK and he got the UK version. This is the one this is Umbrella. Is it Umbrella Entertainment? This is from the Australia, actually, not the Australia, from Australia. And this movie is spectacular. I've got to say, if you haven't seen this movie, you have got to see Night of the Creeps. I think the flippable art on here is a cover that I remember. I did have it on there, but I had to sort of swap it because of the big certificate they put on Australian releases, which does sometimes just think, oh, does it have to be so big? A bit like the German ones are huge. But if this movie here is one of the best ones I've seen, it's like an 80s horror comedy, and it's got Tom Atkins in it, not Atkins, and he was in The Fog, and he's brilliant. Everybody knows him, and he's amazed, and he's the best thing in this movie. But this movie's got a lot of things going for it, with many of these sort of zombies that are kind of attacking the school in a fashion. This needs another spin as well. Did really have a great time with this. Okay, so I'm going to go and get the other ones from there, and then I'm going to crack on. Okay, and next up is Opera, Dario Argento movie. This is released by Cult Films, I think it's called. Yeah, Cult Films, and it's got a lovely slipcover. Although for some reason I don't understand, the thing is upside down, which should be a bit more like that, but never mind. This is a numbered limited edition, and I don't think they've done quite a good job of this, but I do think that somebody, maybe Arrow, is going to put this out in 4K, because it seems like Dario Argento stuff is coming out in 4K a lot, and I think this is one that would look spectacular actually. I think this is probably the last, I would consider this to be the last great Dario Argento movie. I mean, he's got some good ones after this, but this is the last of the ones where you think, right, actually maybe, no, is it Tenebrae after this? I'm not too sure. No, Tenebrae before this. Wow. So yes, so that's it is highly recommended actually. If you can see it, do buy it, because this is quite a good Blu-ray, to be honest. It's been a long time coming out in Blu-ray in the UK. That's Opera. Next up is the Omen trilogy. I do know actually, I heard people talking about this recently, the Omen. I thought, hang on a minute, I haven't seen the Omen trilogy. Actually, I think we talked about it on the live stream with Keith. And we did, yes. So I do know I've got to get back to what I haven't watched these for a long time. I do think that the first one is the best one. Oh, we've got some little bit of sticker CX nonsense going at the back there. I forgot all about that. That's great, isn't it? Never mind. Uh, so yeah, so this has got 3 films in it. I do think The Omen is the best one. I think actually my favourite is The Omen. Next is The Omen 2, and my third favourite is The Omen 3, which I still think is a decent movie. And it's got some special features on here. I do think that these would look great in a 4K in a box set. I do think that I wouldn't touch any of the other ones with a barge pole. So that's the Omen trilogy. Next is the Omega Man, or the Omega Man. Yes, Charlton Heston. It's just, you know, I'm going to blank on the name. What's he called? See, this is another thing that should have got cut out. Will Smith, whatever. The one where he's at the end of the end of the world, his last man standing. This is the same movie actually. It's I haven't watched it, but I do want to watch it. This is released by I can't think of it. This is released by. This is another one where I used to see it for next to nothing. I think I got this for next to nothing, and the next thing you know, it goes up dead high. I think it's been re-released on maybe some the HMV premium line. But yeah, so this one for me is it's quite it's very much thought of in the horror fraternity. So this is the Omega Man. Wow, that was a bit of a bad one. That if I had that, I would have recorded that one again. But we're going for no editing here. Next up is Possession. This is a movie that I've never got away with, if I'm honest. I know this was a previously banned video nasty, so it has to be in the collection. It's got, this is Second Sight, it's got a lot of special features there. I will get another shot. The movie itself, I did find to be so depressing it was unreal. But I need to go back to it with adult eyes because I think I saw it as a kid and thought, what's this rubbish? Because I just wanted to see blood and guts. There is some of that in it, but it was a lot of like feelings and stuff like that, which I had no time for when I was a kid. But maybe this, I have heard a lot of people say pretty much good things about it. But maybe I saw it at the wrong time. That's Possession. Next up is the Poltergeist remake. Now, I got this one because I think it was a couple of quid, and I thought I'll have a watch of it. I didn't think it was going to be any good, and to be honest, for the first half of it, I didn't think it was very good. But it came around in the end. I think it's only really because of the fella in here. It's so it says from legendary filmmaker Sam Raimi and The Evil Dead. I don't know what he's got to do with it. Maybe he's producing it, which I'm quite baffled at when I do read this. And the actor in here is trying to think what's Sam Rockwell. Yeah, Sam Rockwell does carry this movie. It's quite a decent movie. It's not a patch on the original Poltergeist at all, but it's not awful. I did quite enjoy it, although I didn't think it was that scary at all. But I kept it in because it was one of them. This is one of the ones that maybe in the future, when I start filling these shelves up, hopefully it'll take a while to fill them up, and I've got to get rid of some. This will be one of the ones that I'll get rid of. But by this time, I'll probably watch this again sometime down the line. That's Poltergeist, the remake. Next up is Piranha 3D. I thought this movie was a blast. I have got Piranha 3 Double D over there somewhere in the things to be put on the shelves. This is a decent movie actually. It's is it in 3D? Yeah, it's in 3D, and I watched the 3D version. I thought the 3D version was alright. Didn't think it was anything spectacular with the glasses on. I might watch it again actually. I will watch this again. And Piranha 3 Double D, I thought was awful. I thought this was laughably awful and entertainingly awful, but the other one was just absolutely awful, and it didn't do anything for me. But anyway, I will watch this one again. I did get the other one and thought I'll give it another spin. So that's Piranha 3D. Next up is Peepin' Tom. This is a really good 60s movie, and it's one of those ones that was really frowned upon when it came out because it's Peepin' Tom. It was like one of these movies where you thought, what? Well, probably at the time, I think it's about 1963. They said, you know, this was like so like controversial because of what it showed. It's not really got anything in it, just the fact that this bloke likes to peep on people, which was sort of like you can imagine in the 60s when someone would have thought, what, do you make a movie about that? But the movie itself has got a great performance in from the fella who plays the main character. I think it's called Carl Boehm. I think that's him, and I think he's just died fairly recently. And it's a really good movie actually. It's don't expect anything controversial in it at all. In fact, it's rated 15, and I think it could be a 12. But it's not a bad film for what it is, and it looks pretty good in this release. That's Peeping Tom. Next up is one that I got in a subscriber mail from my good friend Carl from Carlinio9. I'll leave a link down to his channel down below. And he sent me Out of the Dark. Now, I'd never heard of this movie at all, and he said he'd watched it and he said it was all right, but he wouldn't watch it again, so he passed it on, along with another movie which is down there. And I thought, well, thanks to for Carl to do that for me, and I haven't watched it yet. But if I'm honest, these movies here, I've watched pretty much most of them, which is quite good going for me. But there's a few that I need to get into. So when this all gets put back on the shelves properly, I will start picking out of these subscriber mail ones that have passed us by. So that's Out of the Dark. Next up is a movie that I just thoroughly loved when I saw it, and I actually talked Deborah into watching it, and she thought she couldn't get through it, but she could, because the story in here is so great and the acting is so great. It is Orphan. This movie is just such a good movie. It's not a really scary horror movie. It kind of is sometimes, and it's just got to do with this couple who they pick this orphan up from an orphanage, and they sort of adopt her, and she's not what she seems. She's an awful little evil person, and the movie's about her coming into this household and sort of destroying it, really. But yeah, it's a really good. There's a lot more to it than that. I do highly recommend this movie. Will you ever see a 4K? I really don't know, but that's Orphan. Next up is Rawhead Rex. Now this is a great version from Kino Lorber. It's got this kind of side slip box affair, and this is one of those ones where I think it's coming out with 4K again from them, actually. So maybe they're doing a little bit like what Arrow do. They're kind of putting things out. I think this came out quite a while ago, actually, and it does look absolutely spectacular. So I would imagine that the 4K on this would look brilliant. This is a British movie, actually, and the special effects for Rawhead Rex, this character, are really good. And I was happy to get this in the collection, because I know Arrow have done it, but when John gave us a chance to own this one, which is Region A locked, I thought, yeah, I'll do that. So that's Rawhead Rex. Next up is Raw. Now this is a subscriber mail from my good friend Leon, which I've already told you to leave a link down below, and I have, and if I haven't, I will. But anyway, link down below. Wow. So this movie's got a lot of people rate very highly about this, and so did Leon when he sent it to us. And I thought, wow, this is one of the ones that was actually on my list, and he read me mind with it. It's another one that I haven't watched yet. These movies here will be probably ones that I will watch probably quicker than most movies and regular movies. I think I'm getting into 4Ks at the minute with my new TV. But yeah, this is one that's meant to be, I think it's a French film. And it says a modern horror masterpiece, and that's what I keep hearing about it. I think it's had a new special edition as well, and maybe even a 4K. That's Raw. Next up is The Quiet Ones. Now this is a Hammer movie. That's why I got it. Excuse me. I think this would have been one of the ones that I would have got and put on the shelves and watched, because it's a horror one, and I've just never watched it. I never even had a thought to watch it. I heard a lot of people saying this is a boring film, so I do know that. Well, I will watch it, but I don't know when. So that's The Quiet Ones. Next up is a great movie with a great slip. It is Prevenge. This is a movie by Alice Lowe, who was actually pregnant at the time of this movie. And it tells about this. It's a bit of a psycho, tale of this girl who's a little bit strange, to say the least, and she's got these visions of killing people, and is the baby making her kill things and all that type of thing. But it's a really good movie. It's a British movie, and I think that anything with Alice Lowe is usually excellent, and the stuff I really enjoy. So that's Prevenge. Next up is another good movie. It is Possum. This is one that I've always wanted to see. This is by Matthew Holness, who was actually in a TV series with Alice Lowe called Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, which is highly recommended. Love that TV series. This one here is not what you would think. I thought it was going to be like a creature sort of horror, but it's not. It's about this fella who has, for reasons I won't go into it because it will spoil it for you, he has a dummy that's like a puppet called Possum, and it's more one of the most creepiest things you'll ever see. I mean, you don't see much of it there, but when you see it coming out and it's like this, like it looks like a doll's head with legs. It's really, really bizarre. And the movie is really bizarre, but when it all comes together and you find out exactly what this movie is all about, it's quite haunting actually. Very much recommended, but a bit strange. That's Possum. Next up is Possessor. Now I was happy to get this with a slip because it's one of the ones that you hardly ever see with a slip. I got this for six quid in the slip in CEX. Try saying that after 27 pence. And actually 27 is my lucky number. Just thought I'd say that. Don't know why. And yeah, so highly recommended again. Haven't seen it. Do want to see it. Glad to get the slip. And it's by the son of David Cronenberg's son, Brandon Cronenberg. So that's another reason to check it out. And yeah, meant to be a little bit extreme, but why not? So that's Possessor. Next up is a really funny film called Rubber. This is about a killer tire. Yeah, you heard it here. I know a few people have seen this and said it's absolutely crazy, which it is. And it just looks, I think when the tire, for no particular reason, does go around and it drives up the people, or wheels up the people. And when it's next to people, it sort of vibrates, and then the head explodes of the person it's next to. That's the story. But there's a lot more, and there's a huge break in the fourth wall in here when the kind of, and I don't think it's going to give anything away, but when they say the kind of the film crew comes in on the movie as well. It's nuts, but very much recommended. So everybody who's seen it says how crazy it is. That's Rubber. Next up is The Revenant. Now, a lot of people don't talk about this one. I think John Hall told me about this one. I did go and pick it up. And yeah, it's an absolutely... No, it's not John Hall, actually. It was a girl I used to work with. She talked about this one, and I thought, right, I'll go and see it. And I'll tell you what, it's one of the best things I've seen. It's a zombie horror comedy type thing. Actually, it's a comedy. Really good. And it doesn't get... Anybody doesn't mention it, but if you haven't seen it, do try and check it out. The Revenant. You'll get it's got some really good effects in it, very gory. You get some special features, and yes, it's really one of the ones that's under the radar. Highly, highly recommended. The Revenant. Next up is Return of the Living Dead Part 3. I really want Return of the Living Dead Part 2, but it's one of those ones that's a bit in limbo at the minute. This is by the Vestron label, and I like these Vestron titles, but I think this movie's great. It's nothing like the first one. And actually, I don't think the second one is too much like this one, but yeah, it's got a sort of independent story. But I think it's a great little movie, actually, centering around on this girl, actually, and it's very much not really. I think it is to do with the first one, but not that much. So that's Return of the Living Dead. Good picture quality on that one as well. Speaking of that, I don't know why this is the way around it is. Return of the Living Dead, the movie. This is the one I was talking to this. Yeah, nearly 5 hours of killer bonus features. I think it's got a documentary on here which lasts for a 2-hour documentary, and then there's So this anyway, the documentary on here, which is longer than the film, is absolutely brilliant. It's one of the best documentaries I've ever seen. I did used to have a steelbook of this, but I got rid of it because I was trying to get me money for my drums at the time. But I knew I could get this for like next to nothing. I think that the steelbook went for stupid money, so. That was one I could live with that because I don't really like steelbooks, if I'm honest. Well, I do like looking at them, but I don't really like owning them. But this is a great movie. I do think the print on this has got quite a lot of dirt in it. I do think this could be sharpened up. I would love to see this on 4K. Somebody somewhere's got to pick this up because it's such a iconic movie, and I can't get enough of it. I must have watched this on a loop when in the video shop days. That's The Return of the Living Dead. Next up is Relic. This is the other movie that Carl from Carlinio 9 sent me, and I watched this one and I had a great time. It's very, very strange and very sort of plays with your head a little bit, and it's hard to explain. It's just about this lady living with dementia, but there's a lot more to that. The dementia sort of takes over the house, if I'm honest, and the house sort of turns into something which is kind of brought on by her dementia. In a way, I'm kind of generalizing, but I think it's a bit like that. It's hard to explain. It was a good little watch, actually. I was really pleased that Carl sent me this because I did want to see it anyway, and I was pleased to see it. But it's a strange film, but a good film in that way. That's Relic. Next up is Reanimator. This is an absolute stone cold classic. Again, I had this on Steelbook, but I sold it to get my money for my drums. And this here has got all the cuts in it. I know this has come out in a special edition, the new S with by Arrow, and I didn't get that one because this is good. This is good enough for me. I do think that this movie could get a 4K. Could Arrow even do a UK 4K of it, possibly, or somebody else, maybe Scream Factory. So if they do that, this would be my one until I saw the 4K, because this one looks nice on Blu-ray. I think the 4K would make it look absolutely spectacular. I'm just checking the time on here. It says 39 minutes, because if I don't cut anything of this out, which I don't plan to, this video might be a little bit long, but you just have to come back to it and do watch it, you know, like in parts. Okay, next up is Wreck. This is a brilliant movie. This is, excuse me, that's me taking a gulp of air when I shouldn't have done. Wow, that would have been cut out. Probably hear that a few times. This is one with, it's like a Spanish film, I think. It's got subtitles. It's a brilliant movie, this. It's so atmospheric. I know Arrow have done a release of it, which if I saw this in the sale, I might be, because I didn't want to pick it up, because I thought, well, I'm only really getting it for probably maybe a slight uptick in the picture quality, and also a slipcover. But if I'm honest, I've just taught myself into it there. If I do see it off Arrow, I will buy that one. But this is highly recommended. It's one of those movies that really does shock, actually. And I don't know about the other ones, but Wreck is highly recommended. See, talking about that, here's Wreck 2. I haven't watched it yet. I've heard decent things about this. I have heard very mixed things about the other lot. That's just the way it is. I think that they might have just... This is a great story to have as a story. Maybe when they started to, you know, do more versions of that, or like stretching the story out, maybe it didn't come to that, like translate. But this is, I think this follows on straight away from this one. But like I say, I haven't seen it. So that's Wreck 2. Okay, I've got another pile there. I'm going to have to do another cut while I go and sort that pile out. Next up is Some Guy Who Kills People. This is, I just got that because of the title, and I thought, man, that sounds pretty interesting, pretty fun, and it is. It's a really good movie. Probably got this for a couple of quid in CX. This is from executive producer John Landis. Well, this is such a good movie. Actually, it's very funny. It's one of those like low budget movies that kind of just passes you by. It's got the girl out of the UK office in there as well. It was Jasper Carrot's daughter, believe it or not. And yeah, it's a really good movie. I can't remember too much about it other than it's a little bit kind of Lucy David, that's what she's called, and Kevin Corrigan. I've seen him in other things. I think he was in, what was he in? He was in some American TV shows I really enjoyed. So I think this has got a good cast, and also it's yeah, Barry Bostwick, that's him. Yeah, I think he was in something else I watched recently. This is quite a good, highly recommended movie. I can't really remember too much about it. Satisfies your bloodlust, makes you laugh, and has a touching story woven through. Yep. But as well, I can't remember too much about it. I do highly recommend it because I had a great time with it. It's Some Guy Who Kills People. Great title. Next up is Land of the Dead. This is I'm sure this got released by somebody else actually, and I haven't upgraded because I think that the picture quality is exactly the same on that one as this one. I do like the movie. I would say the original trilogy that George Romero did is probably the definitive one. The second trilogy isn't that good. Land of the Dead is pretty good, and it's probably the best one of the three that got released. That's not director's cut. I do think that they might do a whole box set with a whole lot of them in, possibly. Depends on rights. They might do a box set with the last three in it, maybe. I'm not too keen on getting stuff like that. The first three, obviously, I'll get anything by them. I think I've got the Zenith and Night and Dawn. I think Day of the Dead needs to get something seriously done about that. 4K, obviously. So that's Land of the Dead. Next up is Diary of the Dead, which was decent. It was alright, I suppose. At the time they were doing that thing with like found footage, and it was a decent spin on it, although it's pretty not unforgettable. I remember that most of the time on Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and Day of the Dead, you could kind of, is that light on? It is on. I thought I'd turn the light off there. This one here is it was all right, but it's not going to be groundbreaking. I thought it was decent, but kind of I would prefer it like not handheld. Next up is Survival of the Dead. Now this has got an amazing slipcover there. It's one of the best slipcovers I've ever seen. The movie itself is, sadly, it's not that good. It's adequate, should I say, but it's not anything that I would write home about. I think that maybe just run out of ideas. I think there was talk of him doing something else, but I think that basically you shouldn't have really. You should just done Land of the Dead and left it at that. You made it a quadrilogy. But it's not bad. It's not. But it's just, I think it's got a bit of humour and it doesn't really sort of work for some reason. Although I haven't really watched it for many years, I think I might go back and watch it. But yeah, it's one of those ones where it's on me. It's not very high up on the rewatch list, that's for sure. That's Survival of the Dead. Lovely slipcover though. Next up is an absolute classic of mine. Absolute classic that I like. It is Tetsuo the Iron Man. This is also got the second movie on there, Body Hammer, which is kind of like more like a remake of Tetsuo the Iron Man. This is it's black and white. It's only about an hour. This the second movie is colour, and it's more like a remix actually of the first one. Yeah, but I do think this is one of the ones you've got to see. It's kind of like a Razorhead vibe to it. It's definitely got that to it. It's quite extreme in parts as well, and there's not a lot. It's not how to explain about the fact that it's just somebody who gets a little bit of metal in the cheek and they turn into this Iron Man. But it's really well done. It's one of those ones. It's only about an hour long, and I think it can keep you entertained a lot. It's one of those experimental movies that you just hear about and you just see and you just think, yeah, that was fantastic. So that's Tetsuo the Iron Man and Body Hammer. Next up is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, not the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This one here has my Gunnar Hansen's autograph in, which is one of my prized possessions. I know it's hiding in here at the moment, but it's out of the light. And this one here is from Second Sight, and Second Sight are releasing a 4K of this year, so that'll be stunning. Obviously, this looks all right. I think, is it a 4K remaster? It might be. It just says yes, the new 4K transfer from the original 16mm A and B rolls. I don't know what A and B rolls means, but I know that this one looks probably the best I've seen it, and I would imagine the 4K would look the best it's looked. But I can't imagine it to look astounding. It's not as if you can look and you go, wow, this is like Jaws. It's never going to look like that because it's shot in 16mm. It's got a limit to its picture. But I do think that whatever Second Sight do with it, they will do a spectacular version. Although I wasn't too keen on the original cover for this one, which this is the reversible one, which is the original artwork. So that's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, by far the best one. Secondly, next is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Is it just? Oh yes, it is. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is kind of another remake. I think it's 2003, I believe. It's all right. It's not bad. It's better than I thought it was going to be. But I don't know. It's just, I think about the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre I quite enjoyed. But I think it's about time they just sort of left this thing alone, because I don't think they've got anything new they can do to it. They're kind of just rehashing a lot of it. And does it work? It does work a bit, but sometimes you think, well, I've seen this all before. I mean, it's adequate. I would like to think I could get the whole lot in one box set, but then again, I think, imagine watching these all back to back. I think they'll do your head in, because the timeline on it is worse than something like Halloween, believe it or not. So that's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Next is Texas Chainsaw. Wow. This is, I'm not too sure what this year is, 2012 I think. It's a lot of people said it was awful, but I thought it was alright. I think it's a sequel to the first one. This is how we'll get this, these things are, you know, it's not the sequel to the next one, it's the sequel to the first one, and ignore all the other ones, that type of thing, which happens too many times. This here needs a dust, actually. I'll just give that one, there you go, there's my dust. And this is, I'm speaking of dust now, I'll get dust all over the camera. This was all right. I did quite enjoy it. Gunnar Hansen isn't here. I think it's the first time he's ever in a movie apart from the first one, so it's all right for that. But yeah, it's not amazing. I think it's got a twist in it, which is a bit of a stupid twist as well. That's Texas Chainsaw. Next up is They Live. Now I've got this. I did always struggle with this movie. I didn't enjoy it, if I'm honest. I always thought it was. I didn't get it. I didn't get the fact it was like quite serious for the first half and humorous for the second half. But when I got the 4K on the recommendation of watching Mike Cinema Massacre, is it Cinema Massacre? Might have to cut this one. Axeman Massacre. Wow. So Mike from Axeman Massacre. Cinema Axeman. Wow. Cinema Axeman. I think it is. See, this is, you're seeing behind the scenes, you're seeing things that would normally get cut. I'm going to say Cinema Axeman. I'll tell you what, when I put this camera on, it's like my mind just goes to mush. But anyway, I'll leave a link down to his channel down below. And on his recommendation, I wanted to recheck this movie. So I got the 4K and I had a blast with it. I still got the Blu-ray here. I do need to see what stuff it's got on here, as opposed to what the Blu-ray has. But the 4K. But this Blu-ray here does look really nice, actually. But highly recommended now. Wasn't before, but it is now. So thanks to Mike, Cinema Axeman. Yep. So that's They Live. Next up is an absolutely amazing movie, Train to Busan. This is, I can hear people going down the stairs. When people go up and down the stairs, I usually stop so I can get to hear what's going on. There's my phone going. I can see what's going on there, and it does put us off, which I'm getting put off now. Anyway, I hope you can get through this. Yeah, so I'll crack on. The Train to Busan is highly recommended. I know a lot of people talked about it and said it was brilliant, and quite rightly. I know the other two, the one is like a prequel and then the follow-up isn't that good, but this is a standalone movie. Is absolutely brilliant. It's just non-stop action, and it's to have a zombie outbreak on a train is a really good story as well. It's filmed amazingly, and it's got such a good backstory with this man and his daughter. So that's Train to Busan. Next up is Tremors Attack Pack. This is the first 4 movies. I have just got Tremors on 4K, and I tell you what, it's one of the best looking 4Ks I've ever seen. Couldn't believe how good the picture quality was. So for me, I'm definitely up for watching that quite soon, which will make us watch these ones as well. Which I think I've seen Tremors 2, but nothing else after that. But I think I will give them a spin now. So that's Tremors Attack Pack, and on the back of that I've got Tremors 5, Bloodlines. Don't know anything about it. I don't know, it's like a new film. I think maybe it might be another 2 out after this, or maybe 1. I know it's definitely a Tremors 6. Yeah, I will get it. I will check it out. I know that these movies do go down in quality. I do know that we're going to bring Kevin Bacon back to this franchise, maybe for a TV series, which never happened yet. So that's I will get these watched now. I've got the 4K of this franchise. That's Tremors 5. Next up is Troll Hunter, which is a brilliant movie. Take a look at that lenticular. It's very deep as well. I'm so glad to pick it up. I did have it, but I saw the lenticular and I thought I'll have to upgrade that. The movie itself is really well done, actually. It's like a comedy, and it's done like handheld, but obviously when you see the trolls, they look obviously not real, but they do look very real. I think that's the front door home. That's Deborah going to work, and for a full shift, and I'm now off. I'm going to go and do this video. I'm going to do it, cut it, and put it out tonight, Monday. So this is a fast turnaround, actually, this video, because I wanted to put out one tonight, and I wanted to put out one that I didn't have to cut that much, because I don't have time to edit this afternoon. That's the short story there. I could have not said that, and it could have taken me another 3 seconds off my editing time. Wow. Anyway, without it starting to blether, Troll Hunter, highly recommend. It's a really good movie, and surprisingly good movie as well. And it's one of those ones that sort of passes people by, but don't, if you see it in the shop, especially CEX, pick one up because you'll have a blast with it. Troll Hunter. I'm going to get this set here, and I'm going to move them round. So I'm not going to cut that. Obviously, I would have cut that out on my other video. Next up is Visiting Hours. This is a banned video nasty, and it's quite a good movie, actually. I can understand it as banned to a certain extent, but to be honest, it's not that bad. It stars William Shatner as well, which is great. You know, to have William Shatner and everything, I think is so watchable. This is released by Final Cut. It's a decent version. It's not the best one, but the movie itself is all right. It's one I think I had out in VHS back in the day, and happy to own it, actually. Happy to own it fully uncut as well. So that's Visiting Hours. Next up is a double pack that I got off my good friend John Hall, and it is VFW and also Bliss. Now I've watched both of these movies. Bliss itself is like a sort of reminds of the Driller Killer, actually, in a way, and we need a drink. Anyway, It's really like a bit of a head smash. I know it came out in a special edition, probably from Second Sight. Actually, had that beautiful look about it, but obviously long gone now. Excuse me, I'm talking for an hour here. I know I've done a few cuts and I had to go downstairs and see Deborah, so it's not going to be an hour when you see it, but wow. Okay, so this is both directed by Joe Begos or Begos or Begos. It's a movie this movie is absolutely brilliant. It's like a real good big throwback to like a Carpenter movie, like Assault on Precinct 13 for kind of. But these action stars in here, it does actually sound like a John Carpenter film as well. But this one here is absolutely nuts as well. It's like a female driller killer in a way, without the drills. So yeah, so them two highly recommended. I think that's come out to 4K actually. You can get these in the UK easy, but this is the Australian release, I believe. That's VHF and VFW and Bliss. Next up is Warm Bodies. This is another one of those sort of like cheap sort of horror movies, which is kind of like a zombie movie with a spin. This is another. It's a great movie. This did Nicholas Hoult. That's him. I think it's Hoult. John Malkovich. I couldn't remember he was in it. This is a great little movie. This I would love to get this on 4K, although the 4K from America seems to be dead expensive. But I rate this one quite highly. It's got a different take on it, but I'm not too sure what the take is. It's kind of a zombie movie with brains and laughs and heart, kind of like a love movie with zombies or a zombie and somebody who isn't a zombie. That's Warm Bodies. Next up is a Stone Cold classic, which we had such a great time with, which is quite dusty actually, I think. It is The Warriors. Now this is the one that come out, the ultimate director's cut, and I think what they've done is they've filled in a few parts of it with some animations, which is, it works for me. I think it's alright, but a lot of people didn't like that. I don't know if you can watch it without the animation bit in it, but the movie itself is brilliant. I wouldn't mind a 4K of this because I have a lot of good memories about this. Was one that we used to pass around on VHS all the time. Everyone saw The Warriors and also The Wanderers as well, which I didn't really like The Wanderers, but I do need to see The Wanderers again. That's another movie that's seen to just fade into obscurity on physical media. So yeah, highly recommended. Do have a great time with this movie. That's The Warriors. Next up is The Whip and the Body. This is another one from John Hall, and I do know this has come out again. So somebody's going to bring it out. Maybe I was going to bring it out, or 88. This is a sort of I don't know who it's directed by. I would imagine it's directed by. Does it say? It doesn't really say it to me. I can't see it, but I would imagine it's sort of like Jean Reno or what's he called? I can't remember his name. Everybody knows him. Jess Franco, that type of thing. But yeah, it's meant to be not that good picture quality. I thought it looked alright, but I reckon that the new one's obviously going to put that right. So that's The Whip and the Body. 1960s movie, I think. And another movie here, Witchfinder General, is a great 70s movie. It's not a Hammer movie, but it comes across really like a Hammer movie. It's got a lot of special features on here. It's a great movie. It's one of the best ones with Vincent Price in it. He's a real bounder in this movie, and a rapscallion. And he just basically just wants to kill everybody because he's a witchfinder general. He just says everyone's a witch, so he kills them, he burns them at the stake. It's quite funny in that way because it's just he's so relentless and nasty that it's a great movie to watch in that respect. But it does really come across like a Hammer movie. I thought I was going to cough there, so I had to do my first proper cut there because I just had a coughing attack. Okay, so Witchfinder General, that's highly recommended. This stack is looking a little bit precarious, I'll tell you that much. Next up is The Wolfman. This is I'm going to say Benifico del Toro. I thought this movie was adequate. I didn't think it was brilliant, but I didn't think it was awful. I keep saying I need to go back and watch this movie. I think that it could have been a lot more. Unfortunately, it kind of fell. The werewolf transformation scene in here is quite good, but I think it just gets so Emily Blunt's in it. I think I will have to watch that now because I'm a big fan of Emily Blunt. Didn't even remember that. Seems like it's been out for 100 years. This, but there's a bit of a missed opportunity for me. That's The Wolfman. Next up is one of the best. I've got it in the horror section. It shouldn't really be in the horror section, but it should. It is Young Frankenstein. I would love to see this on 4K. I don't know if it ever will get that way. This is a masterpiece by Mel Brooks and also stars. It's got a great casting of Gene Wilder, and also Terry Garr, and of course Marty Feldman, amongst others. I can sort of tell you everything to do with this movie. The lines in this movie, I can say is, when I'm out with Deborah, usually I'd say, "Hey, remember that bit when they said this in that movie?" And she does. For most of it, she always says, "Oh God." But when I start about Young Frankenstein, she does actually sort of. It's one of the only comedies that she's watched a couple of times, and she probably would watch it again as well. So that's Young Frankenstein. Highly, highly, highly recommended. Next up is World War Z, a movie that I did have a good time with. I think Deborah watched this with me, and she actually thought it was alright as well. It could have been a little bit better. They do talk about sequels, but in essence, I thought it was not a bad movie at all. And all other people say it's not that good, but yeah, it was alright. That's World War Z. Next up is the one that a lot of people don't like, but I thought was really good, and it reminds me actually when you watch it, it's like they've taken the whole like story of the Evil Dead and turned it into a movie. It is Zombievers. Yeah. So yeah, it is stupid, it is daft, but I don't know. I think it's a lot gorier than I thought it would be. There's a lot of things happening here that I didn't think would go that way, and of course as well, it's got that sort of Evil Dead element with the sort of Deadites being changed by these zombies. Yeah, it is ridiculous and stupid, but it's a decent watch, I think. Don't pay too much for it, but you'll have a laugh with it, I think, and just treat it as just a sort of weird comedy. But if you ever do watch it, try and see if you get the Evil Dead vibe from it as well. That's Zombievers. Right, so at the end of this section, I put all these movies together, which I'll go through quite quickly. But I put them together because I would consider these all to be utter trash, but enjoyable. And sometimes I will go and look at these movies and see X and get them, knowing full well I would probably be guying the biggest load of rubbish ever. But for some reason, I like movies like that, as you know. So first up is Devils of War. This is a Nazi zombie film. As soon as I see a Nazi zombie film, I buy it, and for the most part, I have a great time with it. It's not the best; these aren't the best movies by any stretch of the imagination, but they are highly watchable for the fact of having zombie Nazis in, which I can do with. It's probably got some ridiculous, preposterous theme to it, and it doesn't look anything like it does on the cover. But I had a blast with it, and I think the effects on these are done like on computers. It's like a sort of ZX81 and they just look atrocious, but I don't mind that. So that's Devils of War. Same being said for Bloodstorm. This is another Nazi zombie affair. This was really fun actually, and it's got some of the worst CGI effects I've ever seen in my life. It's as if they've just literally been rendered on God knows what. They are the worst I've ever seen. But it's highly recommended. That's Bloodstorm. I don't know why they have the German, is it umlaut on there? Is it Birdstorm? I don't know, I'm not going to say it, I'm making a fool of myself. So that's Bloodstorm. Next up is a truly awful film actually. I did consider getting rid of this, but I kept it because it is that bad. It is Hellride. Rental copy. That's X from Blockbuster. This is it was recommended by Quentin Tarantino Presents because he's a big fan of this bloke here who's a star in like exploitation movies. He's got a quite decent cast in here. I think Vinnie Jones is in the video on that, who is awful. This fella here, who I thought, oh, if Quentin Tarantino likes him from exploitation movies, he's got to have something about him. I tell you what, he's awful. He must have. It's got to be a complete joke. This story what he wrote, because he's wrote him in as sort of like this absolute, like. Action star hero, and he's certainly not that. It's like an exercise probably on him just trying to be like just an ego trip for him, but it's a truly awful film. But for that reason I thought, well, I'm not going to get rid of it because it is that bad, and it does need another watch, although I don't really know when I'm going to do it. That's Hellride. Next up is, I'm a big fan of these movies actually. I think this is a bit out of line, so out of order. So next up is Iron Sky. This was one that I thought it was going to be a different movie. I thought it was going to be a really good movie, and it's not. It's an awful movie, but it's one of the movies it's so bad it's good. It's so ridiculous that this is, because it's something like zombies. In 1945, the Nazis retreated to the moon. Now they are coming back. Now I thought that would be not as stupid as it sounded when they did it on this movie, and it's absolutely 10 times stupider than it sounds. I know they've done a sequel to it, and I do want to pick the sequel up cheap, I do know this isn't the director's cut, so I want to get the director's cut of this and then also the sequels. I've heard bad things about the sequel. I have had it downloaded on my Sky Movies app for that long time, but I haven't watched it. And but I will get around to watch it. But this is highly recommended. Just cheap. Get all these movies cheap if you want to, a couple of quid, but you have a laugh at them. But there is a director's cut out of this one, which I don't know how many seconds extra it's got in it. Oh, there's the driller killers outside. Okay, so that's Iron Sky. Next up is Swamp Shark. Swamp Shark. Next up is Swamp Shark. He says, putting his teeth in. This is it's a really good movie actually. It's one of the ones that you think, is it ever going to be that? Christy Swanson. Now, is Christy Swanson Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer? I think she is in the film. This is it's not a bad movie actually. It looks spectacular. It's got a really good Robert Darby's in this as well for about 10 seconds, I think. Yeah, it's a decent movie. These movies are never going to be great, but if they're enjoyable for an hour and a half, then why not? I can't remember too much about it. I think that special effects look quite decent. That's Swamp Shark. Next up is Shark Attack. Next up is Shark Night 3D. This was a very good movie actually, much better than I thought. I think that I watched the 3D. I think I probably did. Has it got glasses in it? No, it hasn't, but I've got plenty of glasses knocking about. This is, like I say, it was a decent movie, and any movies I see of these I will buy. I don't think there's many that I've watched that I've just not I've put back, sold and just thought this is never anything I'm going to watch again. So that is Shark Night 3D. Next up, the throat's going. Next up is Ghost Shark. This is Don't Get Wet, it says. This is one of the most stupidest things I've ever seen in my life. The fact is that a shark can be a ghost and kill people as a ghost. It's just ridiculous. But you just knew from that all these two-headed sharks, three-headed sharks, nine-headed sharks, I think they're all a blast because going into them they're just going to be stupid. So you want to know how stupid they are. You can probably think, are these movies going to out-stupid the next one? But yeah, so they're all highly recommended, them shark ones. So that's Ghost Shark. And last up on this list is Underground. Now I'm trying to think if I remember this. Well, I've watched this movie. I think this for £1, and this is another one that's got like horrendous CGI. But I do remember it being not a bad movie. It wasn't great by any means. I can't remember what the story's about. A group of friends fight for their lives as they find themselves at the mercy of ravenous creatures lurking beneath the Earth's surface. The gruesome monsterites, wow, which have been genetically engineered by the military to be expendable in the battle, set about dispatching the group one by one as they desperately try to get out alive. Yeah, it's not too bad actually. I can't when I've read that, so it didn't even sound like a movie I watched. But never mind. This is another one. Like I say, it was a quid somewhere. Bought it. Thought, yeah, that's all right. So yeah, so wow. This is hopefully this is on my clock. It's got 1 hour 13, but I think I can cut out a few bits of things when I was swapping the movies over. But I don't think I'm going to cut out that much. So this video is probably going to be long. And as you've seen, there's hardly any cuts in it. And if I'm honest, I should do these more often because usually when I do cut, this would be 2 hours long with an hour cut out of it. And the fact that it isn't makes me think I might do a few more of these because I made a lot less mistakes in this one than I have in usually the ones that I cut up a lot. Anyway, I'm blethering. I'm going to go. I'm going to have my breakfast now. I'm going to have, tell you what, do you want to know what I'm having my breakfast? I'm losing the plot here. I'll have coffee, 2 slices of toast, 1 with margarine, well obviously both margarine, 1 with jam on, 1 with, wow, this is thrilling for you, isn't it? I hope you haven't stayed around to this. You might think, what on earth is this guy going about? 1 with marmalade on, and 3, no, I'm gonna push the board. I'm gonna have 4 rich tea biscuits. So wallop, there you go, and a vegan multivitamin supplement. Thanks a lot. Okay, so thanks for watching. You take care, and I will see you on the next video. Cheers.